A knock came at the door. Sara, dear. Yes, is there... Oh, hello. Bonjour, mademoiselle. Miss Minchin hissed through her teeth, and the young woman in the maid's uniform fell silent. Sara, before he left you, your father arranged for a maid to be employed, especially for your needs. She has just arrived. I believe she is from France. Huh. Yes. Her name is Marriott. She will be living in your rooms, helping you with your clothing in the morning and anything else you require. Please use her as your liaison with the staff. If you have need of food, send your maid rather than speak to the cook directly. And don't let her fool you. She does not speak the Queen's tongue. Oh. So you're saying I need to speak French to the maid? What makes you think I would know French? I'm the daughter of a British, bureaucrat stationed in India. So I know English for sure. I might have picked up a bit of Hindi, but when would I have learned French? She swept out of the room, leaving the maid and her new little mistress blinking at each other in confusion. Okay, I do know French. See, here's the issue. My character knows French. I don't! Oh, okay, it's fine. Just imagine. It's a French word. It's gonna... For French words, the rules of how all the words sound, letters sound, is gonna be similar to all of the fancy English words. Bonjour, Mariette. Je m'appelle Sara. Comment allez-vous? Et vous? Allez-vous? Très bien, merci. And I am pleased to see that you are just as prepared as your papa described you. Oh, what did he say? That no other girl is as solemn as you, and that you would make me smile. But why would being solemn make someone smile? Ah, it is your je ne sais quoi. It is you. Now, why don't you show me around your room? Okay. Alright, I'm going to try my best to not offend anyone with my terrible French accent. Okay, so for our next event with Jesse, we're going to need 3 belief, 3 patience, and 3 knowledge. Okay. The Mariette event is free. Okay. I guess we could go for Lavina since it's requires some grace. Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea to have the free event in our back pocket, in case we just do horrible in a week and can't afford anything else. Sara knocked upon the door. It is Sara Crewe. May I come in? You may enter. Miss Minchin's model student was this day holding court in her rooms. It was a rather small court, consisting as it did of only one loyal follower, Jessie Abbott, but Lavina's posture suggested no doubts about her right to rule. Hello, Lavina, may I beg your pardon. Your pardon? That is not begging. Jessie tittered behind her hand. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Now it is evident that there are a great many things you do not understand. That is only to be expected, seeing as you have been raised in the savage Atlands. However, here in England, we observe manners. Seems kind of... What do you mean the savage Atlands? It was India! India, actually, is one of the oldest cradles of civilization, as it turns out. You know, the old Indus Valley civilizations. Sara was perplexed. It was not her desire to be unmannerly, but she could not immediately perceive what breach she had committed. You are too forward, Miss Crewe. I have not invited you to use my Christian name. We have already been introduced. Knowing one's name is not sufficient reason to use it. A friend would call me Lavina. You and I are not yet such friends. I guess it's fair. Like, if I met, like, the president of the United States, I probably wouldn't come up and say, Yo, Don, what's up, buddy? Yeah, there's a certain formality, I suppose. Granted, she doesn't have the same, like, rank advantage of me there, necessarily. We're both students. I suppose she is my senpai if I want to use Japanese terminology. So I guess maybe she deserves respect in that respect. Oh, Labby, she is very young. Children use names freely. It was clear to Sara that Jessie intended to demonstrate her own superior rank of friendship, not merely Lavina, but a pet name. How funny that it should be called a pet name when it is Jessie who acts more as the pet to Lavina. Ooh, what a nice little witty comeback. Too bad it's in your mind, so no one's gonna hear it. This is a school for young ladies. Even if she is young enough to be excused, she ought to practice. She'll need all the polish that she can get. After all, Miss Minchin has set me to be her model. It is my responsibility to correct her mistakes. It is a silly game, these manners, but I do enjoy games. She curtsied, then, if only slightly. I pray you will forgive me, Miss Herbert. It was too familiar of me. Lavina waved a hand. You are forgiven, of course. Now what did you wish to speak with me about? Miss Minchin said that your father was stationed in India. I was curious where you had lived, whether we might have seen the same. And now Lavina held up her hand again. I have no interest in discussing anything whatsoever to do with India. It is not a proper topic for polite conversation. Not a proper topic for polite conversation? It's just India. India's cool. Sara frowned. From the odd look on Jessie's face, she too seemed to find this answer disappointing. Please understand, Miss Crewe, we are here in London, under the shield of Her Majesty the Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, Defender of the Faith, Empress of India. Everything that matters in the world takes place within these miles. Trade within the city, government and parliament, and society within the palace. India is a distant hinterland, filthy and rife with disease. It is a jungle out there. Yes, there are jungles, but they're not any more filthy than London is. Nothing is more filthy than London. A proper lady expresses interest in India only to imagine the thrill of being made to briefly visit such a wild and terrible terrain. You should be very glad that you have escaped it. Thrills are exciting. Hush. Lavina rubbed one hand over the other as if brushing away dirt. I hope I have made myself clear. We will not be discussing India here. Yeah, it's strange too, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here, because, like, with her complexion and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if she was part Indian, actually. Maybe that's why. Maybe she's got, like, a... Oh, what's the term people use? It'll come to me in a moment. However, I will be very pleased to aid you in learning the ways of the English, Miss Crewe. I am certain that is what Miss Minchin had in mind when she directed you to me. That is very kind of you. Not at all. It is my duty, and every good English man or woman is keen to do his or her duty. Like my papa the soldier. Yes, if you must. I still don't understand why she refuses to speak out India. Wasn't she born there? Just know how lovely it can be. It was the beginning of another week of classes, and the students were seated neatly in rows in the schoolroom. Miss Minchin walked up and down between the desks, ensuring that each pupil's head was bowed to her particular lesson. She paused beside Sara, a book in her hand. Now, Sara, as your papa has engaged a French maid for you, I conclude that he wishes you to make a special study of the French language. I think he engaged her because he thought I would like her, Miss Minchin. I'm afraid that you may have been something of a spoiled little girl, and as such you will always imagine that things are done because you like them. It is a fault in you, and one that we must endeavour to train away. My impression, Sarah, is that your papa wishes for you to learn French. I have never really learned to speak French, but that is quite enough. You have never learned, and so you must begin at once. The French master, Monsieur de Farage, will be here in a few minutes. Take this book and look at it until he arrives. Dutifully, Sarah stared at the illustrated pages in front of her. Le Père, the father, La Marie, the mother. You look rather cross, sir. I'm sorry you do not like the idea of learning French. Well, it's not that I don't like it, it's just kind of hard to just drop on me all of a sudden. Also, I mean, of all the times you're learning French, like... And why now? England is at the height of its power. English is the language of the world. Right, Victorian era. I believe that's post-Napoleon. The French are on the way down, man. I am very fond of it, but... You must not say but when you are told to do things. Sorry. Miss Abbott, young lady should not make dreadful snickering noises like a horse. Yes, Miss Minchin. Sarah, look at your book again. Yes, Miss Minchin. Le fille, the son, le frère, the brother. Oh dear. Shortly after, Monsieur du Farage arrived in the classroom. The French master was an elderly gentleman with a neatly trimmed mustache and beard, and hair that flew outwards in dramatic points. His eyes lit up when he caught sight of an unfamiliar little girl puzzling over a book of French phrases. "Ah, is this the new pupil for me, madame?" Her papa, Captain Crewe, is very anxious that she should begin the language, but I am afraid she has a childish prejudice against it. She does not seem to wish to learn. "I am very sorry to hear that, mademoiselle. Perhaps when we begin to study together, I may show you that it is a charming tongue." Little Sarah rose in her seat. She was beginning to feel rather desperate. "S'il vous plaît, monsieur, je ne peux pas comprendre. Comprende?" She began to explain quite simply in pretty and fluent French. Madame had not understood. She had not learned French exactly, not out of books, but her papa and other people had always spoken it to her, and she had read it and written it as she had read and written English. Her papa loved it, and she loved it because he did. Her dear mamma, who had died when she was born, had been French. What on earth? What is she saying? Is this some form of joke? Oh, so you wanted me to learn French, but you're an uncultured woman who never bothered to learn yourself, and you're... I'm gonna go 60-ish years of experience in life? Ah, madame, there is not much I can teach her. She hasn't learned French, she is French. Her accent is exquisite. You ought to have told me. I mean, I tried. I tried. I suppose I did not begin right. Miss Minchin slammed her hand upon the desk. Silence, young lady! Silence at once! And though the other students soon settled back into proper schoolroom behavior, Miss Minchin's lips remained tightly pressed together whenever she looked at Sarah. Hey? What's the old question, or the old phrase, never ask a question you don't already know the answer to? We should definitely read a book. We don't really need any more artistry, so we should not do artistry. I could do some patience. Writing in a diary could be good for that. A tea party might not be bad. Get some sympathy. I'd like... Yeah, give me a tea party. And at that point, we're gonna have, like, no vigor, so we should do something else. And it's gotta be probably write in the diary and then maybe read a book. A bit more of a boring thing, but it should be more consistent. than previously. I think 10 seems to be the maximum amount of a stat we can have, so hopefully we don't get any extra artistry today. I'd rather not waste the opportunities. Okay, some patience. Yeah, it could be better. 2 knowledge, 1 artistry, 1 vigor, 4 patience, and 1 belief. If the French language fell naturally from Sara's lips, there were other lips from which it seemed it could not escape at all, no matter how long the owner stared at her workbook. Lee Pear, the father, Lee, no, La, Mare, the mother. To Ermengarde, it had seemed almost unbelievable that a girl of her own age could string together so many words of French as if they were mere trifles. Dismayed at her own failings, she was devoting more effort than usual to the trial of understanding her lesson. Her elbows rested on the desk, her hands under her chin, as she repeated the broken syllables under her breath. She stared so hard and bit the ribbon on her pigtail so fast that she attracted the attention of Miss Minchin, who, feeling extremely cross at the moment, immediately pounced upon her. Miss St. John, what is the meaning of such conduct? What? Remove your elbows, take your ribbon out of your mouth, sit up at once! Yes, Miss Minchin. That's a lot of giggling. Matters did not improve for Miss St. John when the French master himself arrived. Good bread, Li Bong Peng? Kindly though he was, Monsieur Dufarge could not help but smile at her pronunciation. That is not quite correct. Et così bien, le bon pain. Lu Bong Peng? Girls, conduct yourselves! It isn't funny, really. They ought not to laugh. Poor thing. It was a way of hers always to want to spring into any fray in which someone was made uncomfortable or unhappy. However, there was no way for any hero to defend or rescue Ermengarde from the horrors of education, at least not until the lesson period had concluded. Okay, so we need 5 sympathy to help Ermengarde. Okay, so Marietta's free. I ain't going for Jesse could be nice. Man, no one needs artistry right now? Sheesh. Knowledge, patience, sympathy, belief. You got knowledge, patience, and grace. I guess I'd go for the one that just has more stats right now. That seems to make sense to me. Also, Jesse seems... Well, I don't know. Jesse was nicer off the bat, but I think Lavina could be more interesting. I mean, I think there's going to be something to do with her. There's going to be some sort of interesting thing to reveal about her history with India, which I am looking forward to finding out. So maybe we continue down the Lavina train a bit. I think that makes sense. Like, I think she's got, like, because I think she's part Indian. That's my prediction right now. And I think she's got, like, an internalized sort of racism or xenophobia against herself. And that's why she, like, overcompensates. Like, India's terrible, and I'm not Indian. I am British. I'm a British woman, through and through. Like, I think there's some sort of sense of inferiority that I think she probably picked up from her surroundings that she's overcompensating to try to cover up at this point. That's my prediction. I could be completely off base. I think that's where this is going. In her room, Lavina was displaying her favorite framed print for Sara's perusal. Even though it is only a print and not an original painting, I keep her on my wall to serve as my inspiration. She is the quintessential English rose, you see. Not the daring and facile Gibson girl, but a more traditional beauty, delicate and fair. You see how white her skin is, with only the faintest touch of rose at her cheeks and lips, and her hair a light ash brown, so unassuming and untouched by artifice. Do you see how she reclines, how she sighs, modest and tender as a petal? That is true beauty. You will never measure up to that standard, of course. I know. You didn't have to bring it up. Neither will you. I'm not fair-haired or soft and rosy-cheeked, but your hair is straight and black as mine, and your skin is darker. Not that there's anything wrong with that, of course. Not to be racist. Well, actually, you know what? Victorian era England? You know, I guess it's in character to be a bit racist. Everyone's a little racist right now. However, you could certainly make some improvements. Your clothing is so queer and old-fashioned. What makes the difference between old-fashioned and traditional? One is better than the other. I guess that's the difference between it being, like, outdated and classic. That's not an answer. Where did you get such a wardrobe? What was your mother thinking? Ooh, that's a tough spot. My mother is dead. Oh. Very little ever seemed to make Lavina uncomfortable. This subject, however, shook her composure. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be. I didn't know. It's alright. I never knew her, so it doesn't make me sad. She died when I was born. Ooh, dead in childbirth. That sucks. God, that doesn't happen as much anymore. Well, anyway, it's just not done to talk about the departed, and especially not to criticize them. That is a piece of English manners which you should learn. So, I ask that you forgive me for what I said. Of course I forgive you. I wonder if her mother is dead too. But if she says it's rude to talk about it, she would probably be upset if I asked. In any case, I suppose that explains your clothes. Your poor father was left to have to fit you all on his own. Men have no head for fashion. Perhaps you will develop your own style when you are older. What do you think, Miss Crewe? Will you become a new woman? I do not know what a new woman is. Is there an old woman? What is the difference? I suppose every old woman will become an old woman eventually, but every girl must become a new woman at some point first. That's how aging works. How you do tie yourself in knots. If you aren't careful, you'll become known as a blue stocking. Sarah looked down at her stockings, which were quite clearly white, with blue embroidery, granted. Lavina sighed noisily. An overly intellectual woman. She turned back to regard her inspirational print. The ideal English lady is accomplished and well-read, but only enough to make polite conversation, not enough to be challenging. I think Lavina will always be a challenge. Manners, accomplishments, and of course a good fortune can go a long way to make up for a less than ideal appearance. Still, there will always be a benefit in looking one's best. That Lottie with her little golden curls is like to become something of a beauty when she is older. If she ever ceases to be an irritating spoiled brat. I suppose none of us see ourselves as we see others. I'm sure I have quite obvious flaws that I completely overlook. Is it alright then to call her Lottie and not Miss Lay? Oh, yes, she's a child. And really it is tiresome being so formal all the time. We are practically family here, aren't we? We live under the same roof, we share with each other like sisters. Therefore, you may call me Lavina. Thank you, Lavina. Oh, and you may call me Sarah. Lavina nodded earnestly. Yes, that's just so. Failing to reciprocate would be impolite. If you want to show more enthusiasm, you must be more insistent. You must call me Sarah. However, too much enthusiasm seems clumsy, fawning. It cloys. I'll remember that. She does put a good deal of thought into how a lady should behave. But if she must play a part, why not choose a more enjoyable one to play? Alright, new week. Do you see that darling little blue and yellow bird on the way back from church? It was only a blue tit. They're hopelessly common. I hadn't seen one before. I don't think they have them in India. They're country birds. They like trees. You don't see them so much in London. There must be many more birds in the country. Are there any birds in England that are blue all over? I don't think so. Are there any bluebirds in India? Well, there are some birds with bright blue feathers, but not all over, and some birds that are blue all over, but only a bit blue. I thought that perhaps in England I might find the bluebird of happiness. What is that? I shall tell you. All of you come up to my room and we shall have tea delivered. You shouldn't give orders to cook. It's not proper for a young lady to go into the kitchens. Oh, I won't. My maid Mariette will fetch the tea for us. You have your own personal maid to bring you tea? Yes, my father arranged for her to come from France. Come and say hello. Oh no, she's realizing that my family is wealthier than yours. We are higher up in the social hierarchy. Take that, Lavina. I am the true alpha here. Sara and her entourage were greeted at the door. Oh my, so many visitors. If it's all right, would you please bring tea for my guests, Mariette? Oui, mademoiselle. Mariette went at once to the kitchens to carry out her little mistress's orders. The head cook of Miss Minchin's select seminary looked up at Mariette's approach, her face as pinched as her dough. Here now, what's this then? Afternoon, tea for four. Oh, is that all? I expected she'll be wanting fresh cakes too. Never mind that we haven't made any. Oh, no, there are biscuits already. Never seen that stop one of those girls from wanting more. Quick as you please. It is perhaps so, with some, but not with my mistress. Elle est à la une princesse, qu'est petite. She thanks me for my work just as if she were thanking a grand lady. Huh! Giving herself airs, you mean? As you wish it. Still, I am very pleased with my place. Now the tea? Okay. We don't need any more artistry, so let's not get artistry. Literally everything can give me artistry. Why can everything give me artistry? This is absurd. I don't need artistry. I could use more knowledge, so I'll do double book. I'll write in the diary. That's pretty good. And we're not going to have any vigor, so there's no point in going for a walk. More sympathy actually would be beneficial, so maybe we'll do double tea party at the end. I think that makes sense. There we go, 3 books. Just what you want to see. Okay, that's probably going to waste some of that artistry, assuming 10 is the max. If 10 isn't the max, that might change things a bit. Okay. Seems like a fairly productive day, or week so far. Yeah, not bad, not bad. 4 knowledge, 1 artistry. Yeah, so 10 is the max of artistry. And presumably everything else as well. 1 vigor, 2 patience, 3 sympathy, and 1 belief. Right this way, dear Sara. Lady Pitkin will be absolutely charmed to meet you. Yes, Miss Minchin. Where is she taking Sara? Miss Minchin is showing her off to another visitor, parent? Or maybe a donor, I'm sure I wouldn't know. Dear Sara must come into the drawing room and talk to Mrs. Musgrave about India. Dear Sara must speak French to Lady Pitkin. Her accent is so perfect. Oh, wait a minute. Is she going to take credit for my naturally amazing French and imply that it was her, like, school's amazing teaching that got me there? That seems kind of fraudulent, honestly. She learned French at the seminary, that's for certain. There's nothing so clever in her knowing it. She says herself she didn't learn it at all. She just picked it up because she always heard her papa speak it. It's simply disgusting the way Miss Minchin trots her around like an ornament. I can't imagine being so good at anything that Miss Minchin should want to show me off, especially French. Sarah's always imagining she will no doubt grow up to be eccentric. There's one thing about her, though. She is never grand about herself the least bit, even though she easily might be. I believe I couldn't help being proud, just a little, if I had so many fine things and was made such a fuss over. A little? If Miss Minchin brought you to curtsy for a mayor's wife, you would purr just like Tybalt. Oh, Labby, don't be silly. Being a cat might be even nicer than being able to speak French. And every bit as likely for you. Oh. There's no use in waiting here for Sarah. She'll be at tea for hours, I'm sure. We may as well go on our way.